In a highly anticipated ruling by the Supreme Court, they voted 6-3 in favor of the Trump administration to limit nationwide injunctions when it comes to birthright citizenship. For more on the story, let's take a listen.
And as we've told you, it is the Supreme Court's last day in session, and we are watching their latest decisions. In one of the biggest cases, the justices voted to limit lower courts' power on nationwide injunctions, including that of President Trump's executive order ending birthright citizenship. So let's bring in CBS News White House reporter Aaron Navarro for more. Aaron, you're out there at the White House. I see you. So any reaction from the White House about the decisions so far?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of that come in now. The president posted on Truth Social calling that decision, quote, a giant win, saying it, quote, indirectly hits the birthright citizenship, argument. Even though, as Jan noted, this decision from the Supreme Court mainly deals with national injunctions and not the merits of birthright citizenship. The president went on to say that birthright citizenship is, quote, scamming our immigration process.
The Supreme Court hands the Trump administration another win as it lifts the lower court injunction that allows their administration to make large-scale cuts in federal agencies. For more on the big win for the Trump administration, take a listen.
The Supreme Court has cleared the way for the Trump administration to move forward with its mass layoffs of federal workers. The justices today lifted a lower court order that had blocked layoffs at dozens of agencies. The Trump administration has been working to reorganize and downsize the federal government under the White House Department of Government Efficiency, also known as DOGE. CBS News legal contributor and Loyola Law School professor Jessica Levinson joins us now. Jessica, always very good to see you. Remind us a little bit about the facts of this case and how it ended up before the Supreme Court here.
So it ended up before the Supreme Court, as we're talking about increasingly frequently, is that there was an emergency appeal to the Supreme Court. So what happened? As you said, President Trump issued an executive order saying, essentially, we're going to drastically reduce the number of federal workers. And then there was another memo that was issued about exactly how to do that. Labor groups and others sued and said, Mr. President, you don't have the power. You actually have to work with Congress if you want to dramatically reorganize the executive branch this way. And there was an initial win by those challenging the president's executive order in the trial court, at the district court. The district court judge said, at least for now, to the challengers, you're right, Mr. President, you cannot implement these plans. Let's put these plans on hold. The Trump administration then appealed up to the Ninth Circuit, that's the Intermediate Court of Appeals, and said, let us move forward. The Ninth Circuit, in a divided decision, said no. The Trump administration, in an emergency appeal, then went up to the Supreme Court. That's the ruling that we're talking about today. And the Supreme Court essentially lifted the lower court's pause, meaning that the restructuring can move forward while this case plays out.
Here's Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader, back during the Biden administration, discussing how the economy is booming and how everything is, just going so great, even though inflation reached a 40-year high during the Biden administration. Watch him then say how prices are not going any lower, even though inflation hit a 4-year low during the Trump administration.
Let's work together. Following the leadership of President Joe Biden, whose record continues to move things in an incredibly positive direction for the American people. Wages are up. Inflation is down.
The high cost of living in the United States of America. It's a challenge that we need to tackle. They promised that costs would go down on day one, that they would address inflation. Costs haven't gone down. They're going up. Inflation is going up. And a lot of it has to do with Trump's reckless mismanagement of the economy.
It seems as though Trump was right again on tariffs, as import prices are lower since he's been negotiating with other countries on the tariffs. For more on the economics of the deal, let's take a listen to this clip.
What's amazing is in Stephen's piece, they did such great work, is that if you look at the goods piece, it actually fell. It's 50 basis points lower than what overall PCE goods have shown. So imports of goods were down. And in the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, well, that's not the Fed's preferred measure. That's the measure that most businesses and households know about. That fell even more. So it's not even like inflation is under 2%. It actually fell for those goods that supposedly were supposed to go up because of the tariffs. It's really remarkable, and it reflects the fact, as you and I have talked before, foreign producers have absorbed this in their margin. The U.S. being the biggest consumer in the world really dictates the terms, and President Trump knows.
I think it's good that SCOTUS ruled in favor of the Trump administration. I also think that it's good that people are recognizing that Trump's tariff policy is helping lower prices for the average American. Both are solid wins. Breaking news, after an ICE raid of Glass House Farm, it's found that people fired at ICE agents during the raid and that unaccompanied children were found running from tear gas as the raid was conducted. For more on the story, let's check out these clips together.
We begin with Matt Finn. He's live with more on the growing violence against ICE. Matt, good evening.
Trace, good evening. Two federal sources tell Fox tonight that hundreds of people have been taken into custody during an hours-long immigration sweep at two farming locations in Carpinteria and Camarillo, California. Tear gas and smoke bombs were launched into the crowds of protesters, clashing with immigration agents. Some people were transported to the hospital. Others were taken into custody for interfering with federal officers. Protesters could be seen throwing rocks at this black SUV. And tonight, sources tell Fox the feds are investigating the possibility of an active shooter at the scene. Investigators searched for shell casings and are using facial recognition to identify the suspect. This all started much earlier in the day. Federal sources tell Fox they had a criminal warrant to get onto the properties based on evidence illegal aliens were being harbored there. The properties are believed to be tied to a company called Glass House Brands, which has a state license to grow marijuana.
Take a look at this video right here. It appears a protester fired some kind of gun at federal agents. This happened this afternoon. It was a really chaotic scene at the time. A lot of smoke was being launched at the protesters. And again, it appears a protester fired back with that weapon. It looks like he fired at least a couple of times. We have not heard about any agents being hurt.
It's never going to be okay to fire shots at ICE agents. And it's also never going to be okay for children to be found unaccompanied at a cannabis farm. What were they doing there? Were they working for the cannabis farm? It's possible that they may have violated some child labor laws. We'll see what occurs as the story develops. Which brings me to the questions of this video. Are you happy about the Supreme Court siding with Trump on birthright citizenship and also on mass firings of federal workers, allowing for a reduction of the federal workforce and basically cutting spending? Do you think that ICE was right in detaining and conducting a raid on a cannabis farm? Do you think it's somewhat suspicious that there are unaccompanied minors at the ICE raid of the cannabis farm? Let me know how you feel about these questions in the comment section below. Oh, and in case you missed it, there was a disgraceful attempt by Dems to politicize the Texas floods. And also, the DOJ dropped the ball on the Epstein rollout when it came to the Epstein client list and the file release. A fire rebuke was made by the Benny Show, along with other racist remarks by Dems about the Texas floods. If you missed all of that, don't worry, because it's coming up right here.